And also, in culture-wise, I think they need to build out their outlets and even move their headquarters to
We are
either Silicon
back.
Valley or other.
Let's pause this real quick. Let us continue with our module, baby. This will be part 2, official test start time. You guys have 2 minutes to get in. Let's go. All right. Now, let us continue with theory. So, please use your hyper scientific, and let's go with the lowest number, right? The lowest number is okay, 3582 for the non-performance. 3582. Now we're going to subtract. For our frame, we have to think beyond a few generations. So we're going to take the highest weight, which is 2205. 2205. So we're going to be 1,377 pounds lighter. So let's go by horsepower, which I have here. So I did write some of the horsepower figures down. So 340 something to, hold on, let's just double check so we don't make any mistakes. Hold on. Okay. On the base model, 283 horsepower. On the top of the line performance, 346 horsepower. So if we went with the lowest figure, right? If we went, let's say, with a base model powertrain, we're already 1,377 pounds lighter, plus we have 283 horsepower, two-wheel drive. We can have 346 at a weight penalty, which is either going to be, it's probably going to be the battery. It has to be the battery because the only difference is aluminum or copper wires. That's the only difference, right? It has to be the battery. So if you think about the base model battery is 50 kilowatt per hour. That's actually the power of the engine in one cycle, if you think about it. But think about the weight savings, the fact that we could put a lot of horsepower through that power plant, the fact that it's light, and then we can build it as aero as we need it to be. So if we took the lowest figure for the engine specs, it was like what, 103 horsepower? Let's go back and let's double check. Let's see if it tells us in powertrain. So what do we do here? If we're going to build a prototype, the most affordable one is going to be the base model, 88 to 89. And that powertrain is a 1.5. It's only 62 horsepower, right? 1.6 is 105. That's a little better, 1988. It may be the D16A6. We have to check if it's VTEC. VTEC. So the B series had 160, but that's a different generation motor. So the highest amount of power is 130 horsepower. So let's go with 130 horsepower, right? We're talking 383, right? So no, hold on. This is no 283 or 346. So 283, and let's subtract our powertrain, which is 130 horsepower. That's 153 extra horsepower. That's like having two engines right there. It's game over, B. All right. So Let us continue. Let me see. Let's go back to the module and let us continue. Engine displacement ranges between 1.2 and 1.7 liters. The D series engine is either single overhead cam or dual overhead cam. It might include VTEC, variable, valve lift, and timing. That is on your finals. When you guys write your paper, timing is the most important one. Power ranges from 49 kilowatts to 103 kilowatts. That's what I was thinking. It's 103 kilowatts, so almost double the power, give and take. That means it could produce easy double as power. Okay. Um, in the Japanese market, JDM Civic D series production commenced in 1983 for the 1984 model year and ended in 2005. D series engine technology culminated with production of the D15B three-stage VTEC D15Z7, which was available in markets outside of the United States. Earlier versions of this engine also used a single port fuel delivery system called PGM CARB or PGM carb, signifying that the carburetor was computer controlled. Wow. So that's the difference. I remember that. If you remember, and we did these modules already, which I designed a turbo like this recently. The turbochargers for the Honda V6s overseas were variable vane geometry. That means that the turbo can make itself smaller or bigger as it needs to make power. So zero turbo lag. As you're coming off boost, the turbo is closing, so it needs less air, and then it opens back up. Yo, Honda in the 80s. Amazing shit, yo. All right, now we've already done modules before where we've gone into each specific one, but let's go with D15Z7. Let's see what's the highest amount of power based on, oh, you know what this could be? This could be the latest gens too. So let's check that out. Let's check that out. Hold up. Mm, D15, D16, D16A6. Oh no, I think we did, was it D16, A7? Let me see if it's down. A8, A9. Nope. W. Y. Nope. Um. VTEC. Okay. D16Z7. VTEC found in the EX Coupe. Let me see. 127. Okay, we could go by horsepower. Let's see. This one is single overhead cam, VTEC switchover 4800, redline 7200, fuel cutoff 7500. Um, mm, Power 130. Nope. This one is 127. You know what? This is probably the most available. So this is a good choice. 127 brake horsepower. Now we could do the correct math. So open your hyper scientific. Let's go. How much horsepower did we say? 283. 283 minus, we have 127 horsepower. Still 156 more horsepower and 1,377 pounds. That's it. Anything else, you're just building on top of that. So now we have an idea of this particular design. We know that we can use different layouts. So, for example, in some designs, it was single turbo to balance out the dual turbos in the rear, but we could also run two turbos in the front and run three turbos in the back. You know what I'm saying? We could position all the turbos, you know, in the perfect spacing so that each bank of two cylinders has its own turbo, which is what we're doing in the front. And shout out to to my team because to put the two turbos, like that manifold has to be perfect. And you can't even run high boost. It has to be like very low boost. It's just the fact that you have practically zero lag. Like once the engine is on, those turbos are spinning. Yo, that shit used to make fucking the MR2 lift, yo, like in the sky, like to the moon. Like that shit really does that shit. And that shit is mid-engine. Imagine how powerful that fucking engine is. That's a powerful ass motor, yo. Shout out to my Pegasus, man. All right, so when we're working on the design, you're gonna see different versions. Try to see which version matches the best for whatever type of competition you're in, so that you could design the best race car, get the best research to build the best road cars. I think an attribute of our engineering prowess can be seen in cars like the ZR1X and the ZR1 and the Z06 and the E-Ray and Stingray. You know what I mean? Like it's a really, really good product that the market really, really needs. It's a very good car. You could buy them reasonably. You don't have to modify them. Like most people that can afford them, yo, we're not about to be modifying nothing. Yo, how does the car come from the factory? Give me a good deal on it, and the car has to. I need to have fun. If I'm on vacation with that car, I need to have fun with it. That's it. So, you know, you don't have to receive joy from driving a $5-6 million car that you could receive, riding a fucking horse or a bicycle. You know what I'm saying, or a motorcycle. Like, it's not that serious. Life is not about what the ticket price is of things. You know what I'm saying? So I like the fact that my background is on the SW21 MR2 because SW20 and SW21 were two different cars. And people always wanted to compare, like, you just can't compare them. Yo, that 2.2 is always going to spank the turbo, but the turbo looks nice on paper. How is the turbo a better car? That shit is a 1.8. And all you're doing is forcing the engine with a fucking little turbo. Now you take a fucking J series and you put it on a 21 chassis. You put a K series. You could put the fucking Lotus engine. That shit is in the fucking. Come on, man. That's Toyota, B. That shit don't break. That shit got injectors in every fucking piston. Are you crazy? You know how fast them shits are, and you know how smooth they are. Yo, you ain't ready, B. You're not ready. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about the design, think about the fact that you can divide the power within the powertrain. You can incorporate it into the design. If we're going to pay a penalty because it's a heavier battery, we might as well build a luxury super coupe, a fucking flagship that's automatic. We haven't done an automatic design in a long time, yo. We have not, yo. I'm so fucking excited. This shit is going to be crazy, B. Yes. Think about it. Colin Sack did it with their family joint. The fucking doors are 7 feet in the sky, yo. When you open the doors, that shit is 7 fucking feet. Like, what the fuck is that? You gotta make some shit for regular people, yo. I cannot wait, yo. I got the perfect platform just to build on. So when you are being creative and you're working on your design, I apologize. I always have people working on my properties, stuff like that. Um, when you're working on your design, don't limit yourself. Don't say this silhouette cannot house a 4 cylinder engine or a 6 cylinder engine or 8 cylinder or 10 or 12 cylinders. I'm always having a conflict because my V12 department is always in conflict with my V10 department. And then my V8 department has an issue with forced induction or electric. So you know what I'm saying? So or my V6 department has a problem with hybridization. And then my 4 cylinder department has a problem with cylinder deactivation. But I have 4 cylinder designs that are hybrid as well. So it's like I can build the perfect car for the perfect Formula Series. My shit is Formula One, so I gotta stick to that. But I still love NASCAR. I like Time Attack. I like, all the series. I watch all the series. I give all the series their props. But, you know, day to day is GT3 art class for me. You know what I mean? Like, those are the cars that I'm dealing with. Like, look at Team McLaren, and I said this to our team a few weeks ago during the race. What did they do? Not only did they pull it through and they made the corrections in GT3 R class, which is our class, we were not running prototype class. We're going to be driving prototype class, who knows, in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Look how now Formula One, McLaren comes in for the 1-2 finish like that. Like a week later, our team thought, well, we had everything under control. And I kept explaining to Team Canada, like, yo, we're not, we're same company, but we're not really on the same team. Y'all don't understand. Y'all don't want to listen. So now that it happens in Formula One, the whole company's shaking. While we got a new ZR1X that just came out. Look how long people had to wait for ZR1. So calculate at least the same amount of time for ZR1X. And everybody's going to want one. And they're going to be expensive. But imagine if we were building 1,000 more capacity. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So everything is customer service. You know what I mean? Everything is business. So basically, allow yourself to be inspired by the emotions, the thoughts, and allow yourself to just design. I show you my design. Sometimes you guys don't want to show your design to the company. That's cool. That's understandable. But it's to show you, like, I've been designing these my entire life. This is my biggest investment. Like, this is something that I started very young. You know, as a collector, I always felt bad for cars like the Lamborghini Canto and the Esto-K that just didn't make it. You know what I mean? And now I get to build them myself. If I really want them, I can build them using the most basic parts. And these are the cars that I'm interested in collecting. I don't care about cars with brands and all that stuff. Like, that's just one portfolio, one of my investments. That's just, if anybody wants an exotic vehicle, get in contact with me. But aside from that, this is from my own company. This is my own design right here. You know what I'm saying? This is something that I'm building to be extremely fun to drive. There may be cars that are more powerful, faster cars than mine, but they won't be as fun to drive as mine. I guarantee you that. My cars are going to be different because my cars are going to be fun. You know what I mean? All right. So as we're going through the module, we're going to keep our minds on positive things. And we're just going to allow the design to flow, basically, because you have to be in a flow state in order to be able to design and to engineer. You have to be comfortable. You have to be peaceful. You know what I mean? The only sad thing is that, um, sadly, hold on. This is how we have to design, right? Let me see. Hold on.
This is Bloomberg Tech Asia. I'm
You
Sherian in
guys could
Tokyo.
start.
And I'm
I'm
Annabelle
still
Brawlers
gonna
in
give you the
Hong Kong.
modules, so don't
Welcome to
worry.
the first ever
Give me
episode
one
of
quick
Bloomberg
second.
Tech Asia. We are so excited to have a home for Asia's biggest
That
tech
way,
news and
everybody,
innovations. It's not just the
maintains
established
their
names like
attention span.
Alibaba,
You know what I mean?
TSMC, it's the startups.
Everybody
as well.
has the link. Official test start time, 2 minutes.
Very exciting. From China to Japan, South Korea, Southeast Asia.
Now,
Of course,
real quick,
we got you
as we
covered,
listen to the
latest
oh,
innovations,
you know what?
artificial
I
intelligence
completely
chips,
forgot.
EV tech, so much
For my
more
production,
that we will bring you every
PhDs,
month.
my
But
engineers.
first, for today,
1 second.
as China's AI surge reshapes the global tech balance, we'll hear from one of the so-called
See if it works. Okay, so see? Now we're on Pro Tools. See the difference? Complete difference. Let's bring that back. Now, while that's playing, we're going to continue, okay? We're still going to be designing. That's what we're working towards, is because we want to make it to the simulator. You guys want to be designers. You want to be engineers. You want to be in the simulator. You want to be in the wind tunnel. No. You got to start here in engineering. So let's go with Honda's J engine, and we're going to go to the generation before, okay?
So much more that we will bring you every month. But first, for today, as China's AI surge reshapes the global tech balance, we'll hear.
So the predecessor is the Honda C engine. Let's read articles, so that'll be a double module.
We'll also discuss where the opportunities are for investors.
All right, you guys ready? Let's go. Honda's first production V6 was the C series. It was producing displacements from 2 liters to 3.5 liters. The C engine was produced in various forms for over 20 years, from 1985 to 2005, having first been used in the KA series Legend model and its British sister car, the Rover 800 series and Sterling. So it shows you 2 liters all the way down to 3.5. So the smallest one is 1,996 cc's, so less than 2 liters. And it comes dual overhead cam and VTEC. VTEC is only on dual overhead cam. So we have to look at dual overhead cams are better. Single overhead cam. C30A is dual overhead cam. So the smallest version we could use from the prototype is the C30A, because these were the engines that led to the prototype engines for the NSX. Listen to this. C38, dual overhead cam VTEC C38 is a 2.997 cc 3 liter version, 2,997, producing 270 brake horsepower, 274 PS, 201 kilowatts at 7,300 RPM, and 284 Newton meters of torque, 210 pounds, 29 kilograms per meter of torque at 6,500 RPM. With a 10-2 compression ratio, the engine has a bore and stroke of 90 millimeters and 78 millimeters, making the engine highly over square, which facilitates a shift in power to the higher end of the RPM range. It utilizes a crankshaft with offset crank pins to achieve an evenly spaced firing interval of 120 degrees, something typically unattainable with a 90-degree cylinder bank angle. Honda selected the 90-degree V6 as the NSX optimal engine choice, striking a balance between packaging complexity and lowering the car's center of gravity. Now, very quickly, let's go into the NSX. I don't see it here. There we go. Honda NSX. Let's go NA1, NA2. Let's go to first generation development. Let me see. C30A. This should be in this segment here, but it's not.
Competition from China, Tokyo Electron CEO telling us they're set to widen their lead even as Beijing backs rivals with billions of dollars.
Okay, let's see something real quick. This way we could just avoid the interruptions, but we can, give a shout out to all our business partners. So I can pause that and have it on cue. So very quickly, we're not going to go into, we know Pininfarina was involved in the design, but we might find it here. Let's go over. We've done this module, but let's do it again. The original performance target for Honda's new sports car was the Ferrari 328 and later the 348. As the design neared completion, Honda intended its sports car to meet or exceed the performance of the Ferrari while offering superior reliability and a lower price. For this reason, the 2.0 liter V6 utilized in the HPX was shelved and ultimately replaced with a significantly more powerful 3-liter VTEC V6 engine. Over the course of development of the NSX, many engines were used, ranging from the 2.7-liter single overhead cam shaft V6 engine from the Honda Legend Honda Coupe to the 3-liter single overhead cam shaft V6 engine, and subsequently in 15 test mules. So 15 prototypes. And says 2.7 liter from the Legend and the Coupe. So we have to look at, let me see, if it says 2.7, it has to be a C27. Let's go C engine and let's go C27, see which one it gives us. C35, I know there was a few generation jumps, but that's okay. C30, C27A, single overhead cam. This is, again, it's the different car. This would have been SW21 for the NSX. This is the hidden car. This is the real car. This is Pegasus. C27A. The single overhead cam C27A is a 2.7-liter version, with the major upgrade being the addition of a variable length intake manifold, producing up to 132 kilowatts, 179 PS, 177 horsepower. That's all the NSX needed, yo. Come on, the MR2 had like 142 horsepower. All the shit had was 35 extra horsepower, B. This is the real car, B. That's why the real hidden car is the MR2, because they're from the same lineage. Oh my goodness. This is the fucking, it's the F20, yo. It's the F20. That's what it is, yo. It's the F20. And then, because NSX was delivered 3-liter, MR2 is it's the F22. It's the MR2. Yes. So the NSX, if it came in at 3 liters, the F30. Yo, that's the fucking engineering code right there for the cars. I could build one after the other in perfect synchronicity. Come on now. Them shits is perfect right there. Now, let's see. We know the cars that it came in, right? What's the most powerful version? 177 seems to be it. Now, it was replaced by C30, which would make sense why it's in the lineage, but this one is not VTEC. VTEC made the difference in this powertrain. It wasn't just stroking the motor, whatever, zero point 0.3, right? Let's say overbore, something like that. Let me think. So now we know we can use that as an example. Now, in the J series, which is more, let's say, readily available, right? What can we find that is similar? Because we didn't really go into the prototypes, but it's okay because we already know that we want at least dual overhead cam. Well, actually, no. We want 4 valves per cylinder, but this is dual overhead cam, so it's 60 degrees, so it's more compact, right? It has cylinder deactivation. There's a lot of benefits to this motor. But we know that the smallest one was as small as 2 liters. The smallest one available is the J25. The J25A was used only in the Japanese domestic Inspire Sabre models. The J35A displays 2.5 liters. 2.5 liters, 152.3 cubic inches, 2,495 cc's. Its boring stroke was 86 millimeters, 3.9 inches times 2.82 inches. J35 used a 10.5:1 compression ratio and was single overhead VTEC design. Output was 200 horsepower. That's about right. Because remember, MR2 is 140. The original one was what, 167. So 200 horsepower is ridiculous. That shit is gonna make it super fast. The J30A4 pushed horsepower to 242 horsepower, so it was still underpowered. I say about 300 is what's needed. So 247 J30A, 244 J30A5, 355. Oh shit, hold up. Oh, J30AC turbo. Oh, this is the new one. Nah, this is the new one, V. Shit is 355 fucking horsepower, yo. Compression ratio 981. Valve train 24 valve dual overhead cam with VTEC. MDX type S, TLS type. Yo, this is the fucking motor, B. Damn. That just changed everything because that's the new Challenger right there. We had the MDX on the rig and on the simulator. Let me see what year generation they're talking about. This is the new one. Yeah. I sold these shits. I sold these when they first came out, B. Nice colors too. Oh my goodness, V. This is a machine right here. This right here, this is a machine. Second gen. Yo, 3-liter J30 AC turbo V6 for the Type S. UB7. 355 horsepower, 3-liter V6 turbo. This is not even, yo, put this powertrain on the stroker, it's over. I think this is like a 5-liter design, comparable to a V10. So this could run in my class. Now, the wheelbase 113, so as a standard wheelbase is like a race car, but it's still a good frame. This is a good motor right here, but that's a lot of power. Well, we can at least use that as a baseline. So go ahead, close out K series, B series, CRX, J engine, D engine. We already did it. Tesla Model 3, we could keep it on, and MDX could be used for like a luxury design, or it could be an off-road design, but most likely it's going to be luxury. So let us continue. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back.
The Chinese tech sector has been on a roll since the arrival in January of DeepSeek. The AI startup stunned the world with a product that claims to match or outperform Western rivals at a fraction of the cost. Its rapid strides in AI are poised to escalate the tech Cold War between the US and China.
The number one factor that will define whether the United States or China wins this race is whose technology is most broadly adopted in the rest of the world.
It's not just a matter of building more sophisticated models. Competition between the US and China on AI is expanding to standards, governance, infrastructure, and more.
It's very hard to say how far ahead we are, but I would say not a huge amount of time.
Any lead the US has is eroding fast, despite restrictions on exports of advanced semiconductor technology.
The Chinese competitors have evolved and advanced greatly over the last year, doubling, quadrupling their capabilities every year.
Washington is shifting from a strategy of China containment to international bloc formation and promoting US-led tech ecosystems.
When it comes to the rest of the world, we want American AI stack, starting from the GPUs to the models to everything on top.
Pushing countries to build on such frameworks will not be easy, even with the Biden-era AI diffusion rules scrapped.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win.
Chinese tech now presents an alternative to dependence on the West, with AI leaders like DeepSeek and Alibaba going open source to build quickly
All right.
and at scale.
So
that's
let us continue.
flows of talent and money.
And let's try this again.
Funding Chinese AI.
Put it back on Pro Tools.
Like Washington,
There we
Beijing
go.
wants to shape global norms for the use of AI.
Pro Tools, you can tell the difference
And sees
immediately.
the Global South in particular.
All right. So let us continue.
Yet the choice of US or Chinese AI technology is unlikely to be binary, at least for now. Governments have navigated the twin
Okay.
poles of power for years and will likely keep doing so until an obvious reason emerges to pick a side. Well, let's get more on the outlook for investment as the China-US AI race heats up. But joining us now is Wayne Chong, co-founder and venture partner at China Growth Capital. And we also welcome Jenju Scott, co-founder and CEO of Power Dynamics. But Wayne, I'll start with you because sometimes we know that, yes, there's that increasing competition that we see between the US and China. It can also just give way to even greater competition. So
Okay.
we had a
So now
speak at WF and
we are going to
we heard
continue
a former deputy PBOC
to design,
governor
right?
essentially saying there could be more than 100 DeepSeek discoveries in the next 18 months. Maybe it's a little ambitious, but doesn't seem realistic to you.
Well, I think what really caught us is DeepSeek. It kind of caught us off guard, right? And before DeepSeek, everybody was just following the big companies, and especially given the assumption that how much OpenAI has spent on AI models and production models, and DeepSeek just came out, and DeepSeek has been around for some time for the people in the AI circle, and people just have been following their papers quite a lot. And but this aha moment, just came really off guard.
Did it catch you as off guard, Jen?
It wasn't actually in your very show 18 months ago. Before the R1 was released, we were talking about how efficiency gain would be really gained from China ecosystem. So it wasn't really surprising. Although I think when we talk about DeepSeek, are we talking about fundamental innovation like R1 that's really reduced the capex narrative so much, or are we talking about the shock factor that burned to Wall Street? So I think the shock factor bring to Wall Street probably would not be hundreds. It would be very difficult to have another moment like that. However, I think especially in terms of hardware aspect in China ecosystem, robotics, infrastructure, there will be a lot of innovation coming in the next 18 months.
And that is key, right, Jen? Because, of course, we continue to talk about foundational AI, but it's really the applied industrial side. How do you actually make money and monetize these technologies that are key? What will you be watching?
Well, I'm not only watching, I'm doing. I think end of the day, the ultimate bottleneck for AI is really energy and how efficient, how sustainable the energy is going to be. And then you integrate that with the efficiency of compute. So that's why with Power Dynamics, we're probably the only company or the first company integrate energy storage, immersion cooling, and GPU cooling and produce this kind of modular data center solution. Because as we have observed in the past 6-7 months after R1 was released, we see the hyperscaler in terms of stacking on very expensive capex kind of infrastructure, as well as very decentralized, edge computing, both has to blossom in the past few months. So I think have this kind of flexible, stackable, distributable, modular solution, integrate energy as well as compute, efficiency of compute is very essential.
And Wayne, I think you agree with Jen when it comes to that aha moment that DeepSeek was. Potentially, we might not see again for a little bit of more time to have passed. In the meantime, though, when it comes to the innovation landscape itself in China, I'm coming from the World Economic Forum, and these startup founders were talking about how ruthless and competitive it was. How do they survive?
Well, I think one of the strategies for them to develop applications. So my assumption is that all of the large, the foundation models companies, or a majority of the foundation model companies will become application companies. And of course, all the incumbents will become agentic application companies. And so going after applications is definitely one of the monetization they can go. And the second strategy is for them to go global instead of just covering China, the local market, and they have to go to the biggest market outside China.
Well, that's the US. So given we do have the rising tensions that everyone knows about, but how are you also advising startups to work and manage that?
I think in the legal framework, there are many ways to structure a company as a pretty decent Silicon Valley or a global international company instead of just being a local startup in either Beijing, Wuhan, Chinese local company, and also in culture-wise, I think they need to build out their outlets and even move their headquarters to either Silicon Valley or other major cities. I think in today's market, Japan and even Germany have presented pretty decent opportunities for the startup companies in China.
Jen, something that you've spoken about regularly, really, but it's not just the US versus China, it's US plus China, but explain to us.
So everybody asks about US versus China. In my view, I think it's almost a little bit pointless to compare Apple with Orange because US is so good at certain things in terms of GPU, compute, chip, semiconductor, has absolute leadership right now. And everything else in terms of the product to fit to go to the market, in terms of scalability, in terms of application, and also all the different infrastructure energy-wise, is really China's leading with the entire ecosystem, not as just individual companies right now. So I actually think the world can benefit a lot more in terms of thinking about how you can take the advantages from both sides and really build a very robust ecosystem for the global market instead of just focus on the two countries. There are more than two countries in this world.
And when it comes to the development of artificial intelligence, the fact that the likes of DeepSeek, for example, are going more open weight instead of these closed sources, does that sort of help change the paradigm and the thinking around how this development could go forward, Jen?
Absolutely. I think R1 actually sets up this a very positive race, which is both on the US and China side. Multiple leaders in AI space start to do open weight and open source. And yesterday, actually, Google released those flexible robotics, and they can work on edge computing offline. All of this really require this very decentralized approach in terms of AI instead of very centralized in the walled garden like OpenAI. So I think that's really the future, and I think in the next 18, 24 months, the surprises we will see, it will be this kind of explosive, very fast advancement from robotics, applying this local compute, very private, very efficient kind of applications.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunities, and Wayne, you're actually raising for a 1 billion yuan fund at this moment. What exactly are you looking at in particular? And I'm also interested just if you're changing any of your T's and C's, because we know R&D funds have had some pretty strict conditions in the past. Yeah. Are you having to relax them at all, given that you've just got so much excitement around this space?
Well, yes and no. Yes, well, so the RMB market is not like the US dollar investing market, and where the LPs, the composition of LPs are quite different from the US market. And but with the rise of DeepSeek, I think everybody's excited about the future of AI. And what really interests us is on the application level, and also the intersection between AI and other verticals. And as I said, even biotechs are adopting AI for new drug discovery. So basically, for VC fund like ours, we're small and we're early stage. We have to back innovation from early on.
All right, I'd love to know which T's and C's you're looking at changing, but thank you to Wayne, thank you Jen as well for joining us for our first ever episode of Bloomberg Tech Asia. That was Wayne Shong there, co-founder and venture partner at China Growth Capital, and Power Dynamics co-founder and CEO Jen Ju Scott. But up next, we're going to be talking business strategy.
The executive producer of the show.
6 little dragons emerging as drivers of China's surge in AI. We'll have plenty more ahead. This is Bloomberg Tech Asia.
It's episode 1. We're working on it. But I hope that you guys like the finished product.
After DeepSeek burst into the global limelight, attention is focused on its hometown, Hangzhou, and the startups the local media call the 6 little dragons. One of those is spatial design software supplier Manicore, which is said to be the first of the group to go public. We spoke to founder Victor Huang about their global ambitions and whether he's concerned about tighter U.S. controls on cutting-edge tech.
Right now, we have a very huge opportunity on physical AI. Actually, in United States, our main revenue is from the physical AI part. From the last 40 years, we accumulate a huge amount of physical correct data. Then we use the data to training the physical AI for we call it spatial the model to understand the physical world. Then we are selling the services and also the physical correct data to the company to help them to training the physical AI.
When it comes to selling services, is it easier to do overseas than domestically where competition is very strong?
I think there is not strong competition on just in China. It depends on how many companies are working on the physical AI. Like in some country, most of the company are working on the real estate or something else. So we're selling our traditional spatial design software called Kuhu. But for American, I think there are huge amount of high-tech company in Silicon Valley. So we are mainly provide AI training services for that kind of company. But in China, we already, because we start from China, we already have a huge amount of declaration company for as a customers, like around 40,000. Then we also have a lot of customer for AI training, but compared to the declaration part is still small. In America, the training part is bigger.
Given that you're the first of the Hangzhou 6 to actually go to market, do you expect you to set sort of the benchmark for future Chinese entrepreneurs to follow?
For ourselves, the Hong Kong IPO is planning several years ahead. So when we start to prepare for the IPO, we don't know, we know nothing about the 6 dragon or something. So it's a kind of surprise. But we hope and we believe we will got a very good IPO result. Then we hope we will be a very good example for Chinese tech entrepreneur. Then make them more confidence to be just put more efforts on research than to be listed in the future.
That was the Medicore Tech co-founder and chairman Victor Huang speaking to us at the World Economic Forum in Tianjin, and caught in the crossfire, of course, of this global tech war is Tokyo Electron. And up next, we'll have our exclusive interview with its CEO on how Japan's top chip toolmaker is navigating tensions. This is Bloomberg Tech Asia. Tokyo Electron makes equipment essential for producing advanced semiconductors. It's also caught up in tensions between Beijing and Washington and is restricted from selling some equipment to mainland China. We spoke with CEO Toshiki Kawai about the global tensions over tech and whether their share of revenue coming directly from China will continue to shrink.
Until recently, it was around 45%, so nearly half. Investment in other regions aside from China will grow, so the ratio of China's sales to total sales will inevitably decline. About 35 years ago, China's sales ratio was around 30%, and I expect it to settle at around that level.
How long do you think it will take for Chinese equipment makers to catch up when it comes to technological advances to become a real competition to the likes of Tokyo Electron?
Actually, there is a gap with China's technology. I think it's possible to maintain the difference in technology between China and our company. I'm sure that Chinese vendors are trying to catch up with us, but we must be faster. We can be faster than them in technology innovation, and that's how we can maintain or increase the difference. We are the SPE manufacturer, but we are not chip makers. So for us, it is key to work with the world-leading chip manufacturer to develop the best in the world process and best in the world equipment. The pace of technological innovation is likely to accelerate. I believe this gap will continue to widen. Tokyo Electron is always pursuing the latest cutting-edge technology, so we believe there will be no issues with our growth.
What happens if the needs of the customers change? Because this year we saw the changes brought from DeepSeek with cheaper models, more efficient models that perhaps might need less hardware. Will that change the calculation going forward when it comes to what's needed for the next generation of advances for artificial intelligence?
The emergence of various AI solutions means there is potential for many applications, and the number of applications will increase. As a result, we can expect the overall use of semiconductors to expand. At the same time, the common global goal is finding a balance between digital transformation and green transformation. This will require technological innovations in semiconductors. With increasing applications, there will also be a demand for high capacity, high speed, high reliability, and low power consumption. This has been a constant necessity since the invention of the transistor radio 76 years ago. This pursuit of technological innovation will continue. Even as various AI solutions emerge, the demands don't change. I believe that the devices themselves will continue to expand.
Meet the tiniest HR team in the world. What do you think Paylocity does?
Paylocity? I never heard that before. Ooh. I think they pay people. I don't know. Pay people money.
What do you think Paylocity sounds like?
That seems like a research of scientists. Velocity and pay combined. Paylocity, Paylocity.
Paylocity is the future of HCM simplified.
How has the ongoing trade war and the uncertainty over tariffs affected your business and how you're preparing right now?
At this moment, tariffs are not applied to semiconductors. For example, if we look at Tokyo Electron's sales this year, the United States market accounts for 8%. Considering that tariffs are not currently in place and that the sales share is 8%, we believe the short-term impact of tariffs will be limited and minimal. But we need to continue monitoring developments. We have to watch the progress of tariffs. Our value lies in how we improve and enhance productivity, cutting-edge technology solutions, and productivity enhancement. We will discuss with our American customers and partners how to create solutions that go beyond these tariffs. We also see this as a business opportunity.
And Annabelle, remember when Japan had more than 50% of the global market share when it came to semiconductors back in the 1980s? Well, that shrunk to 10%. But we cannot overstate how important Japanese technology is when it comes to making these high-end advanced chips, right? We're talking about equipment, we're talking about materials, and how they fit into this global US-China competition.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so pivotal to the overall semiconductor ecosystem. But again, to your point, when we see so much competition and innovation coming from now, it is undoubtedly not just Taiwan, it's also mainland China. And this week, I've actually been speaking as well with a lot of different AI startups in the mainland. And I'm hearing a really consistent message that they're just busy building. So the domestic pressures, they're intense. And that's as well a reason why they sometimes need to expand abroad.
They have a huge talent pool, right? We're talking about more than 17 million engineers in China as back as 2020, but that, of course, just increasing, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as we say, the first ever episode of Bloomberg Tech Asia, there are just so many different innovations, so many different companies that we can profile in this part of the world. So we've got you covered. Thanks for tuning in for the first ever ep. Join us again next month.
And don't go away because we'll be hosting a live Q&A with Bloomberg experts on the race for AI supremacy. Listen in on Bloomberg.com. Subscribers can post their own questions at 10 a.m. Hong Kong time.
Bloomberg Tech is live from coast to coast with Caroline Hyde in New York and Ed Ludlow in San Francisco.
This is Bloomberg Tech, and coming up, NVIDIA within reach, heading to be the first company to hit a $4 trillion value. Plus, the US and China finalize a trade truce, which includes China's commitment to deliver rare earths. And Crusoe teams up with Redwood to tackle AI's biggest challenge, power, the largest deployment of reused batteries globally for an AI data center. When we talk about technology and equity markets, there's a story right now that everyone's focused on. Could NVIDIA be the first $4 trillion market cap company? We're at $3.83 trillion right now. Actually, we have some way to go. The stock's up like 1.5% in this session. It would need a gain of almost 6% to hit that milestone this Friday. But there's a longer term story. Since those April lows in markets that were coming out of that post DeepSeek anxiety, NVIDIA is up more than 60%. We've come through earnings, and there's a bullish thesis emerging that actually NVIDIA has more room to run because of the commitment of those cloud computing companies to keep on spending and buying those NVIDIA GPUs. Will NVIDIA be the first $4 trillion company? Let's get more. Mandeep Singh of Bloomberg Intelligence joins us now. And Mandeep, why it's so crucial we have you on the show is you cover the full spectrum of mega cap tech. $4 trillion for NVIDIA, what would be supporting that valuation?
Looking for an easier way to get that LLC next to your business name? Say hello to Taylor Brands. Just go to their site, enter your LLC state, choose your business name, answer a few questions, and that's it. Now your business has tax flexibility and personal asset protection. Plus, it's approved by the state. And it took you what, 3 minutes?
As business owners, we can't waste any time. That's the advantage of using Taylor Brands. They get you your time back.
Taylor Brands handles everything from forming an LLC, your EIN, opening a business bank account, taxes and bookkeeping, your registered agent, and more as a business builder.
All in one platform for the business owner.
Search for Taylor Brands and start your business journey today.
If debt is weighing you down, let us help. We combine all of your debts, like credit cards or personal loans, into one monthly loan payment that's easy to manage. And with National Debt Relief, That loan payment can be as low as $323 a month. Click the link below and see how National Debt Relief can make your debt manageable.
Yeah, look, every data point that we have tracked this quarter has been supportive of estimates going up. The latest one being Micron talking about, how their HBM sales continue to ramp up better than expected. And when it comes to inferencing, clearly the trend of, spending more compute at the time of query, the reasoning capabilities that these models have added, especially with OpenAI O series, what that has done is really reinforce compute demand tied to inferencing. And that to me is what's driving this wave of, enthusiasm around NVIDIA's runway, because the $200 billion number for this year, clearly there's a line of sight. Even when you take out all the China revenue, which they did, with the guide in the last quarter. And so the question is, how much will they grow next year? And right now, consensus is around $250 billion. So with sovereigns coming into play, especially Middle East, and now Jensen being in Europe, you feel like, they have line of sight to that revenue as well. And that's why, the multiple seems to be expanding here.
Okay, the stocks are just below $157 per share. I was doing the math with the team, and I think that $164 per share, or just below it, would get us to $4 trillion of market cap. NVIDIA was the first chip maker to hit $1 trillion of market value, and of course, it's gone well beyond that. But there are headwinds, and I think what Mandy would be helpful to the audience is to explain what's the threat to NVIDIA. Some of it is the customs. Traveling and commuting, there's no other bag like this.
It's not easy. I hate management. Hate is a strong word. I don't enjoy management. I'm really grateful that I had an opportunity to work with French in the capacity that I did, and he was like my friend. Like it was family. It wasn't, there's management relationships where you're not really connected to the person. Like I knew his family, you know what I mean? So it was like, he was an extension of my family in a way, or I was an extension of his rather. And so it's like, you get a chance. If I could have thought of something, I could have brought it to life. You know what I mean? Like it was that. It wasn't like you're restricted by your client relationship and you're like, oh, I can't bring this idea because I'm going to piss off my artist or whatever the case is.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is, I think I want to start kind of with, this is not your beginning.
No beginning.
So I was going to say, there's no beginning. I was just going to say there's no beginning. But there is Hip Hop Canada, which I think is so fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time?
I do.
Crazy. I don't even know. How did you get with those people? Like, they're from Montreal, right?
No, Ottawa.
Or Jesse. Jesse's from Ottawa.
Ottawa.
I don't even know if I've ever met Jesse.
Do you know who got me connected? You'll never guess.
Drake?
Nope. Drake was coming up at the time. This was pre-Drake, way pre-Drake. It's a lot closer to you than you think.
Give me one guess.
One guess. I can't even tell you the first letter because you'll know right away. Somebody I went to school with.
Will?
Nope. I didn't go to
You went to
school
school
with.
with?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You want me to tell you?
Sure.
Yasser.
Yasser.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That's what connected me to Jesse. I was going to university, Kitchener at Laurier, and I was I met a local band at the time that was not as big as I thought they would be. Imagine, so you're not in the music industry, you're just a regular person listening to music. You meet somebody that says that they're an artist, and you're like, why aren't you on the radio? Why aren't you famous? Like, common sense.
Yes.
Mind you, I'd only been in Canada 5 years at this point. So I was like, fresh, basically. And so I was like, why aren't you guys famous? Oh, well, it's not that easy to be famous in Canada or to make music and be famous. And I was like, you know what? I can make you famous. And I put a concert together. That's the first thing I ever did in the music industry. I put a show together at Loose Change Louie's back in the day. And I advertised on Hip Hop Canada. And when I was going through the site, I was like, I love this. This is what I want to do. I want to be a journalist. I was going to school for sociology. me and Yasser and Paul had a show.
Crazy. Which Paul?
Paul Selby.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Me, Yasser, and Paul had a radio show at our university
Crazy.
at Laurier. And I told Yasser, this is what I want to do. I want to write. And he was like, I'll introduce you to Jesse, no problem. And I was like, really? I can be a writer? Like, to me, it was like, I can actually get a position. This is crazy. So I was able to contribute to pieces by, you know, at first it was just like completely up and coming artists. It was, there was no Google, there was no like Twitter.
What was your pitch to Jesse? You just said, hey, listen,
I want to write.
Yeah.
I want to write. I love the articles on here. I just want to write. Give me a chance. And he was like, okay, cool. You'll get a chance. And so he was like, there's a rapper, I can't even think of, Man Moriarty.
Wow. Oh
there's Man Moriarty. But Man Moriarty was popping at the time.
I remember. Yeah, of course.
So it wasn't Mayhem. It was like other artists. Like when I say early, I mean like so early. Like think of this like 4 years before JD Era was popping.
Wow, I was just about to say JD Era, so probably like JB.
Possibly. No, not even JB was popping at the time. I'm talking like rappers that had Jesse would literally send me their press kits.
That's crazy.
That were in print,
crazy.
One pager, and was like, go interview this person. And there's no Twitter, there's no Instagram, there's no Facebook, there's nothing. This is 2005.
Yeah.
Earlier than that. And it was like,
but for those who don't know, Hip Hop Canada was definitely a moment. That was like
Hip Hop Canada was the hip hop like grail of, you know, for artists. Like if you got on there, if you got featured, it meant that you were doing something. It was a big deal, especially for Canadian artists. I know that for international artists, you know, may have not been something that they cared about because it was international, right? But for Canadian artists, that was it. Our forum was the fucking forum. Like the Hip Hop Canada forum. Are you kidding me?
Jesus. I don't even
want to name people, but you know, everybody.
No, that forum got crazy.
Everybody was.
No, you can say who was in the forum.
No, I'm not.
I'll say who was in the forum.
You say who's in the forum.
We know who was in the forum. Everybody was in the forum. And there was battles going on in the forum.
Battles in the
was crazy.
Yeah, the forum was lit. Like the Hip Hop Canada forum was it, and so like if you got featured on there, was a big deal. So it taught me. Hip Hop Canada taught me a lot about like when the right time to go to press is. Like artists would come to me and say, here's my press kit, get my story, it's time for me to be on Hip Hop Canada. And I'd be like, you want to do this story now, but then you'll have a project coming out in 4 months and you're going to expect another interview in 4 months. You're not getting an interview in 4 months. So like, I'm going to shut this down and we're going to revisit this when it's time for you to promote your project. Otherwise, you're wasting a press opportunity.
How did you know to think that way if you were so early in this?
Because
just common sense.
For me, it was common sense. It was like, if you want to promote a project and you're not, and your project is not out, what are you promoting? What's the purpose of doing the story? So, it was that, so Jesse basically just was like, here's a bunch of rappers, interview them and come up with questions. And I literally had to cut out of thin air. I'm like, okay, how did you start? I would ask the basic questions, but I was good. I was good at doing interviews. And that led me into writing bios because it was people wanted their bio to say written by Lola Plaku because I was the lead editor.
Oh my God, you know what? I actually
remember this.
I feel terrible that I actually forgot about this, but this was a thing that you were the first person that I remember that would write bios for people.
Yeah.
And it was the thing, it's like, if you want a bio written,
you go to Lola. Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not written by Lola, it's not official.
Yeah, and I would tell people like, oh, there's a writer. I don't want the writer. I don't want this. I want you to do the story. Even to a point where like, so I did a bunch of writing. And then it went from me being a contributing writer to me being the editor. And I was overseeing a group of writers. They were contributing to Hip Hop Canada, and I would say, I have a writer that can do this piece, and certain people would be like, no, I want you to do the story. Yeah. So, it got to that. But yeah, I was doing bios, and that was kind of like my role. And while I was doing Hip Hop Canada, I was also contributing to Smoking Section. It was like during the blog era, so I was doing a lot of pieces for them. I went to Atlanta, and I stayed in Atlanta for a little bit, and I was interviewing, like Future and Dream and B.O.B., and I did some of the very first articles on them when they were just coming out at the time.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So Hip Hop Canada was definitely an era.
Blow the plaque, everybody. This is who we're dealing with right now. You are a legend.
I'm dating myself. I'm aging myself. This is crazy because it was so long ago. It was like 2 decades ago.
But
it literally was no search. Like I couldn't even. Was there Google? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember how I
I
found.
think it was a Google, but I know that it wasn't Facebook. Really wasn't. It was MySpace. Really, that was kind of the MySpace
Yeah,
era.
it was MySpace era for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, look.
Top 8.
But look here. At the end of the day, top 8. At the end of the day, you've been in the space for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you're a very important person in the space. And many would say that you were like one of the only women actually in hip hop at that time. Really, when you look back at that journey, what is it for you that connects that entire thread for you?
What connects everything together is love and passion to see artists succeed across the entire thing. Like, if from the moment that I decided, I wasn't even trying to get in the music industry. I simply just want to see this group out of Kitchener succeed.
What was the group?
Embassy.
Oh wow. Okay.
Do you know Astro?
Yeah,
Astro?
yeah, of course.
Astro was a lead artist in Embassy.
Wow.
I know.
Did not know this.
Yeah. So it started with wanting to see an artist do well. And every concert I put together after that was because I believed in those artists at the time and even to this day that I thought they deserved a chance and I wanted to do my best to support them. So across all of my endeavors, my passion for artist growth has been what has driven me to do the things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm. And do you still have that passion to this day?
I do. It's a little more complicated in the sense that it depends on which side of the path or journey I'm on, because it's harder depending on whether you're a part of the artist team, you're not a part of the artist team, etc. And I think the more information you know, sometimes you measure your decisions a little bit more. Whereas earlier in my career, I just was like, I'm gonna do this. Let's go. I'm doing it. And so that's the challenge.
I want to take a quick break in the pod right now and talk to you guys about something I think could be of importance to you. If you're listening to this pod and thinking, I could really use some personal guidance right now, and you're serious about building your career in the music business, I'm now offering one-on-one private strategy sessions. These are fully personalized, just you and me tackling whatever you need in your music career. Listen, this is the part where you might be thinking to yourself, who the heck is this guy? Well, I got over 17 years of experience in the music business, whether it was working as a manager with artists like Jessie Reyes, or working with major record labels like Island, Republic, Universal Music Group, or Sony, or producing content for high-profile artists like The Weeknd and Eminem, to producing content for elite brands like the NBA and Nike. I can definitely and confidently say I can help you map out your next moves. Whether you want to talk about structuring your team, navigating the industry, scaling your brand, or just simply learning how to make money in this music business, whatever's most relevant to where you're at, let's talk. You can now book for a fee a one-on-one session with me, an artist manager and a podcast host, to help you figure out your next steps. Find the link in the description below to book a one-on-one consultation session. Also, big shout out to those who watch this podcast. Bringing value to an audience who seeks it is a blessing. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. I appreciate you. Now let's get back to the pod. So we're talking about Hip Hop Canada. Yeah. We're talking about that journalism side. So what happens after this here? You go. That's when I Love Lola starts around that time.
It was. I was contributing to multiple publications, including, like I said, Smoking Section, and then people were hiring me for bios. With that, I did Belly, and I did the entire CP, the bio for Sal and everybody else as a label. Danny Fernandez, everybody, and then Sal brought me on to support marketing for Belly and all the artists that he had on the label. So I did that, and at the same time, I was promoting parties. So I had.
Do you want to know where to invest $1,000 right now? Well, forget about AI, quantum computing, electric vehicles, cryptocurrencies.
And if you remember Atelier.
Why does it sound familiar?
Atelier was the parties we did with like 200 people. It was a really small Atelier Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Which was super popular.
Hold on, what street was that on?
I was on. I don't remember. It was right across from Loki at the time. Lot
332?
Lot 332, but it was called Loki before.
Oh, so it was on Richmond.
Yeah.
Was it on Richmond?
No, it's not Richmond. It's the street over Adelaide.
Adelaide, okay.
I think it's an Adelaide.
Okay.
I don't know, but anyway, so it was Atelier. I was doing parties, and but prior to doing that, I linked up with Taj and Director X, and I was doing Maximus Entertainment.
Maximus.
So I was supporting it at that.
I want to thank you guys. Check out the design. We added the carbon fiber wheel housing. You guys have the best teacher in the whole world. See you on the next one. God bless.